I don't need to be so great in a way, but I can always take one step at a time.
We have Ratna Juita here with us.
Ratna!
She is actually the founder and CEO of Mindgem.
She's a career development strategist. She's a co-author of 2 books. She's also a mindfulness coach.
I've really never thought of really coming this far, honestly. I wanted to be free from suffering. I have been working on it for a few years now with a lot of pain and struggles for sure. But I think one thing that remains for sure is that, that's $1 million question.
Yes, let's go. Okay, guys, you're gonna get the $1 million answer now. Get ready.
Okay.
You openly shared about experiencing imposter syndrome. What were your internal dialogue at that time?
Right. Wow. That was big. I experienced that imposter syndromes ever since young, especially during that particular fear of public speaking, right? That was very, very big. So I kind of keep telling myself that I'm not good enough. Who am I, right? I cannot write well. I cannot speak well. I'm just good for nothing, So it was really very bad. It was a lot of emotions that is happening as I was growing up. And then I felt like a constant imposter syndrome because of that one particular incident of failing my exam, right? And because of that, I was like, hey, it just felt unworthy. It felt I'm just not good enough, Yeah, and it was really tough to grow up with that kind of feeling, right? And then I was looking out for ways hey, I really need to get out of this cycle of imposter syndromes and all that. And how can I get out of this, right? So that I can have a lot more confidence, have a lot more assurance within myself that I can accomplish bigger things, right? Something bigger. And so because of that, I was that's how I started exploring about the mindfulness practice that has really helped me a lot in reframing my narratives about about certain things about myself as well. Reframing the narratives of I'm not good enough into hey, I'm good enough. I think let's just take one step at a time, right? So that helps me a lot. So mindfulness has allowed me to create space for a lot more awareness about all this critical self-talk that doesn't serve me very well, right? And then, and mindfulness has also allowed me to create balance, embracing the feelings as it is, not trying to push it away. Because a lot of times when we've experienced a lot of discomfort emotions, right, we wanted to just push it away because it's so uncomfortable, right? By just leaning into that discomfort, it really allows me to know that, hey, this feeling is trying to protect me from any potential danger and threat, and it's okay, And last but not least, it also helps me to put on the curiosity and care lens, knowing that, hey, these feelings inside of me, I just wanted to protect myself, and how is these feelings is trying to tell me, right? So it really creates a lot of all those self-inquiry that helps me to create the space to allow processing of that emotions and eventually reframing the narratives to become a lot more empowering beliefs. And I think that was really helped a lot. And another helpful as well is that I basically think of it as a way of this is just I'm doing this as a way of progress over perfections, because many times we wanted to be perfect, right? And we are not a perfect human being after all. And having that mindset of progress over perfection, celebrating small wins, right? It helps me a lot to just like, hey, I don't need to be so great in a way, but I can always take one step at a time, right? And how can I celebrate all these steps that I take to help me to move the needle? And that was really very, very helpful to overcome my imposter syndrome. Yeah.
You spoke about one particular incident that really contributed for that. Can you share what was the moment in your school?
Oh, yes. Okay. Basically, I was overwhelmed with anxiety. And it was not easy because I used to have a traumatic fear of public speaking when I was young. So when I was during my primary school, I had to recite a poetry, studied very hard the entire week, but when it comes to the actual day, right, I was so nervous. Everything blank out, right? I couldn't even say a single word. And that was, yeah, that was really, I basically flung my English oral test. Yeah. And many people think like, what's the big problem, right? Like everyone fail exam anyway. But I think that particular incident was really pretty big for me because it literally crashed my self-confidence. So whenever I had to, do a presentation in front of people, right, that image keep pop up. And I was reliving that, traumatic experience again, and I just cannot present well, So that was really quite bad. And I was having like a 1001 thoughts of like the what ifs, I cannot present well, which apparently appear to be. What if people will judge me, right? What if I cannot, all these what if scenarios that has been playing at the back of my mind really caused me to feel that extreme anxiety and nervousness. And because of that, right, we are all talking about amygdala hijack, right? And when the amygdala hijack is being hijacked, fight and flight and flee response is being triggered. So when that was being triggered, I was like stunned, right? I don't know how to react. I cannot even remember a single word, right? And that's how amygdala hijack in action. Yeah, so that's how it is.
Are you enjoying our content? Just subscribing helps us more than you might think. We will be able to grow the show, and this means better content for you to level up. Hit that subscribe button now.
Yeah.
And why did you start your own business?
Why did I start my own business? I think when I was young, I had this dream of becoming a trainer. So I attended one particular training in my high schools, and I couldn't even remember what training is that. And that lady was so inspiring. She left me feeling inspired that I told myself, hey, I really wanted to be like her one day. But pursuing that dream takes so much courage or it seems to be impossible because I used to have a fear of public speaking when I was young. And that, so basically I flung my English oral test and I couldn't even say a single word. And that particular incident crashed my self-confidence. So whenever I had to do presentation, I always remember that incident and I just cannot present well, So that was, and I grew up feeling, low self-esteem. And because of that, it was really very challenging to even started that, pursuing that dream I had. But after I came to Singapore to study and all that, it was also in a way quite a survival instinct. So I told myself, for me to be able to survive here in Singapore, I need to overcome all these challenges that I face, right? So I took Toastmasters training, and how it really helps me a lot in building my self-confidence and also building my self-esteem from doing one speeches into winning speaking competition after competition is something that I've never taught in the first place, right? So there was something really gives me a lot of hope. And then after that, I also realized that mindfulness has really helped me a lot in overcoming a lot of all these imposter syndromes and fear of public speaking and all that. And that's how I was being invited. A couple of my Toastmasters friends actually see there is a change in me, and they invited me to actually run a training. How mindfulness helped me to overcome my fear of public speaking. Yeah. From one training, it leads to many, many trainings. And that's how I actually discovered that, hey, I really enjoy doing this, It is so close to my heart and it brings so much transformational, right? And that's how I actually say that, hey, I really wanted to do this. And of course, during COVID, I was part of the Great Resignation. And during that Great Reset, I also asked myself, what do I really wanted to do, right? And I remember that dream again that I had planted many, many years ago. And I say I wanted to be a trainer. So, and because of the sessions that I've been conducting on mindfulness and all that, it brings so much joy and fulfillment. And I thought I wanted to pursue that. So that's how I actually started my own business.
So nice to see your eyes shining when you talk about your transformation. Maybe you can share, how do you feel now when you look back at?
Oh, wow. I think it's been a journey, I would say. I've really never thought of really coming this far, honestly. And I think I have been working on it for a few years now with a lot of pain and struggles for sure. But I think one thing that remains for sure is that that fire inside of me, knowing that, hey, this is something that I really wanted to do. And it feels so much fulfillment and joy whenever I do that, right? So when I just follow that little dots that brings me joy, that red threads that brings me joy and fulfillment, even though sometimes it brings so much uncomfortable moments and all that. But at the end of the day, it brings so much fulfillment to my life. Yeah.
Wow, that is so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
What was the one mindfulness practice that really helped you?
It's about the practice of loving kindness, knowing that, I'm just a normal human being with fears, with anxiety. I wanted to be free from suffering, right? And I think just by reciting that or even practicing that loving kindness meditation has really allowed me to build that self-compassion within myself, and knowing that, hey, if I make mistakes, I will be there for myself. And that reassurance or that self-assurance really built a lot of self-confidence, a lot of ease within myself, that it's okay, if I fall down, I'll be there for myself.
So nice. So
Yeah.
we all have so many negative thoughts that just blocked us.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that you overcame that, and you are sharing that openly and hopefully inspiring other people. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And what about LinkedIn? Why did you start posting on LinkedIn?
I think for me it was I started because I really wanted to champion my own work, right? It's I felt so many people can really benefit from this practice of mindfulness, and how can we all take charge of our well-being. During COVID times, people are struggling with anxiety and all sorts of difficult emotions, and I really wanted to bring that available to people. So, and how I do that, right? So I leverage on LinkedIn because that's where my target audience are as well, right? So I started sharing my stories on LinkedIn, my struggles and how I overcome that, the lessons that I learned, right? So that's how I got started on LinkedIn, basically. Yeah. And it was interesting because from one stories into another stories, and then I noticed that, hey, actually people resonates with my story, right? It gets viral. So I remember I was being a couple of my posts was being picked up by LinkedIn editors, and then one of the editors actually came to approach me and say that, hey, we love what you put out there, and we are putting together this list of top mental health advocate to follow in Singapore, and we are nominating you as one of them, right? Would you like to be considered? I say, yeah, of course, right? And I didn't know back then this was like a top voice list. So I thought it was just another list because LinkedIn always put together like, oh, this is a 10 growing startup in Asia or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I totally underestimated that list. Ever since then, my followers start growing. And yeah, I started with like 2,000 followers, and now it grows like 7 times, right? And I think not only that, it brings me so much. It opens up a lot of doors of opportunities for my business.
And do you remember what was the moment that things shifted, that you started feeling like, oh, now people are starting to engage? What happened? What was the moment?
I think when I found my bigger why and my deeper purpose of why I even started on this in the first place, that was so big, right? And I think personal branding is really about the inside out journey. And it's really about understanding who we are, what we stand for, and how, with that understanding, how can we show up a lot more confidently, a lot more powerfully to the world. And that was the turning point that I had when I discovered that bigger why. And maybe let me just elaborate a little bit more. So when we discover a bit more about who we are and what we are stand for, right? It's really coming back into the core. So what is this core is all about? So C stands for clarity, getting a bit more clarity about who we are and what are the values and strengths and skills that we can actually contribute to others. So having that clarity is so important, right? The second one is O stands for originality, which is authentic, our authentic self. So by really showing up who we are as a person, right? It helps me to connect better with people. People resonate with my stories, and that's where the connections happens. That's where the conversations happen, and it builds trust with my audience as well. And the third one, R, is reliability. And how can we build that reliability in terms of like whatever we put out, offline is also aligned with the online space, right? So it's that alignment of the reliability of our brand, and how can we also build trust with our audience as well. That helps a lot. And last but not least, E stands for effect. And how can we basically use our work or our personal brands to actually make a positive effect or impact to the world. That was something that I've always imagined whenever I put myself out there, and how I can really make a positive impact to the people that I'm serving as well. So understanding the core, it helps me to build a lot more powerful personal brands that really aligns with who I am, and people resonates with it. Yeah.
So you say that when you start sharing more about your why, right?
Yep.
Then that's when you felt that people started to resonate more with you.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
That is so good. So share more about your why, about your story, right?
Yep.
That's where people connect, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Very, very good. And how did LinkedIn help you so far?
Wow, it's a lot, really a lot. LinkedIn has literally transformed my life to the extent that I've never thought possible, right? When I started, championing my own work in the areas of well-being and all that, suddenly LinkedIn has allowed me to actually opens up another source of income, which is the personal branding coaching, which I've never thought to even do that in the first place. People started reaching out to me, asking like, "Hey, I really like what you put out there. Do you do a personal branding coaching?" Right. So that's one, and it has basically 90% of my business comes from LinkedIn. Yeah,
Wow.
so it is really magic if you can really use it effectively. And many people always ask me like, what is the ROI of like, content creation, right? Is it even worth it? So it's really worth it if you know how to use it well, right? So many people ask me about the ROI of content creation, and I would say it's a lot of things that you can get out of posting on LinkedIn. The ROI stands for recognition. So basically it helps me to be recognized as a thought leader in the space, right? And the LinkedIn Top Voice has really allowed me to also opens up a lot more doors for opportunities. O stands for opportunities. It also opens up opportunities that I've never thought possible. I get inquiries from people outside Singapore to also wanted to work with me as well. And some of these opportunities I never thought, because these people have never engaged with my posts ever, right? They reach out to me out of nowhere inquiring about my services. So that is another one. Of course, the opportunities to be able to build your career as well as your business as well. And last but not least is influence, right? So influence means how can our personal brands basically influence the work that we are doing, and eventually actually making a positive impact, influence, right, to the people that we are serving as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. Yes, I think LinkedIn, it just opens so many doors, but there's a lot of people that sometimes feel a bit blocked when
Yeah.
it comes to, let's say, posting on social media. What do you think is the reason for this block?
Right, that's a great question. And I noticed that a lot of people who came to me wanted to also, get some help on personal branding. I realized these are the three blocks that they kind of like experience. The first one is anxiety. Anxiety means like, even fear of putting themselves out there, right? And then the fear of judgment, the fear of like, I'm not quite sure if people will take this well, a lot of all this anxiety that creates a lot of like holding back, right? And then the second one is capacity. Capacity in terms of like, I'm not quite sure if I am in the right capacity to even share this thing, right? I'm not a thought leader and stuff like that. So it also holds them back a lot. And also capacity in terms of like creating content and all that, it takes a lot of time and energy, right? So they don't have that bandwidth.
Yeah.
And the last one is targeting. So they don't quite know about who they are and who they wanted to target, and that caused a lot of block as well, like in terms of like what kind of content should I put out there, right? So that's the blocks that I've noticed many people are experiencing. And I think how can we overcome this, right, is if you notice anxiety, capacity, and targeting, ACT, and how we can overcome it is to act. Yeah, how to act is basically to create more awareness about who we are and what we stand for and what the message they wanted to put out there, right? Creating awareness, you can basically do a lot of journaling, reflections to understand yourself better, talk to people, learn more and all that. And the second one, C, is stands for capabilities. So basically building your skills, and by attending programs and just building your capabilities to be able to add more values to people. So the T stands for taking actions. A lot of times, because of that imposter syndromes and the anxiety and all that, it takes a lot of all these pressures. So while you are building your awareness and capabilities as well, just take actions, right? Because we all learn by doing, by posting, right? And we know that, oh, this kind of content works for people and these are not.
For people who want to build their personal brand on LinkedIn, what are the 3 strategies that they can do?
Right. These are the 3 strategies that they can do to build a strong personal brand on LinkedIn. The first one is authenticity. So basically showing who you are and what you stand for and how can you add values to people, right? Because people will connect with you at the authentic levels, the stories that you share. The second one is C, stands for consistency. So basically consistency in putting yourself out there, creating more content that resonates with people. And when it comes to consistency, you define it yourself, whether it's a once a week or twice a week or once a month, whatever it is, but it's really sticking into that consistent part, Last but not least, E stands for engagement, engaging with other people posts, as well as engaging with the people who are commenting on your posts as well. And apart from that, you also need to engage with like your ideal target audience or even engaging through the direct messagings as well to understand a bit more about like what are people are looking for on LinkedIn, right? What kind of content that they like to read? And what are some challenges, the pain that they are experiencing, and how can you also be part of the solutions as well? So ACE of building your personal brand: authenticity, consistency, and engagement.
You mentioned about you need to know your target audience. What is one thing that people can do in order to know actually who's my target audience?
Okay. I think you know yourself best. And another thing is also to do a bit of research on like who are the people that will resonate with the message that I am putting out there, right? And then by also looking at the people who have been interacting with your posts, you can actually do a bit of like insights. You can gain a bit of insights of like who are the people who are actually resonates with my message.
Nice. So now we understand like, okay, how do I build my personal brand? But now we go more in detail in terms of how do I craft posts? Maybe can you share a simple structure that people can follow so that they can post?
Right. I like to use a problem, agitate, solutions framework. It's like a copywriting framework. So basically you start with a problem first. What's the problem people are facing or even you are facing, right? I like to use that because, it can connect with people. The second one is agitate. Agitate the problems, make it more painful and make it more like, yes, I need to read more, right? So that's the second one. Then the third one is the solutions. How can you basically add values to the problems that people are solving and you are solving as well? And that's the solution. So of course the post has to be also adding values as well.
Exactly. Very, very good. So you start by, you define the problem, you agitate the problem, and then you give the solution.
Exactly.
Right? But then also it's important to start with a good hook, right?
Oh, that's very, very, very important.
Awesome.
The hook really helps you to get people to read more.
Exactly.
And of course you ended off with a call to actions as well. Like what do you want your audience to actually do with your post, right? Do you want them to sign up for your programs or DM you for whatever free courses or whatever it is? So that's very important.
Good. So now we are coming to the end, but I think there's a part on LinkedIn which is very important for many people, like for you, which is lead generation.
Right.
Which is a big one. Maybe you can share what is like let's say the funnel that you use to help you to generate leads on LinkedIn.
Okay. Wow, that's $1 million question.
Yes, let's go. Okay, guys, you're gonna get the $1 million answer now. Get ready.
Okay. So I think we got to also understand a little bit about the content funnel strategies, right? If you know the marketing funnel strategies, they are like tofu, mofu, bofu, which means that top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and the bottom of the funnel, right? So what are the content that can actually help you to get that top of the funnel, right? Top of the funnel is basically how can you get more people to actually look at your posts or take a look at your profile, right? That is basically the nature of the top of the funnel, is to grow your followers. So what type of content that can actually help you to grow your followers is basically the type of content like the before and after, the transformations that you have, the whatever shit that you encounter, and this is the lessons that I learned, right? People like that kind of content. That helps you to create more awareness about yourself, your business as well. And then the second layer is the middle of the funnel. The middle of the funnel is basically what are the content that can help you to build your authority in your space. So this type of content is basically a lot more like educational based kind of content, right? So the how-to, the step-by-step guide, basically a content that helps you to be seen as a thought leader in your space. That's the second one. The last but not least is the bottom of the funnel. So this is the bottom of the funnel, is basically how can you how can you write content that can help you to generate more leads for your business. So that's basically the bottom of the funnel. So that will be like, maybe you can do a free lead magnet or ebook or whatever guide and all that, and to basically collect their emails and get them to actually reach out to you in the first place. Or it can also be like, a call to actions kind of post, right? Yeah, so that's basically how you can structure your post in such a way that it serves a different part of the content funnel, and apparently eventually helps you to also bring more leads for your business as well.
Yeah. And I really like that you said it's $1 million answer, but it is because there's so many people, they don't feel comfortable like selling,
Yeah.
But what you just shared, it's a way so that easily, you go from awareness about yourself to actually selling, but without feeling that need to hard sell, right?
Yes, exactly.
And so I really like that.
Yeah, and I think I also like about the reframing about, promoting yourself as compared to idea promoting, right? I think Adam Grant in one of his posts with Jay Shetty, he mentioned about, personal branding is really about, idea promoting, right? You don't need to feel uncomfortable of like promoting about ideas that you feel strongly passionate about, right?
I like that. So maybe quickly you can just share, how can people who are afraid of selling, what is a mindset shift that they can use in order to help them with their personal branding?
Great. I think I also feel the same as well. When I started on this journey, I'm not the typical I love selling kind. And even interestingly, right, after spending so many years of my life in the business development and marketing space, doing business development a lot for training companies, I never had a confidence of closing sales and all that. But LinkedIn has literally changed the entire perspective about selling. And I think it's really about, adding values, right? You are being of service to other people. And there is nothing wrong of being of service, of really adding values to others. And if you don't add values, right, you are actually doing a disservice to yourself and to the clients that you are going to serve. Because of your solutions, it makes their life better. And that was such a big shift in my entire, even, building my own business as well. That was really big. Yeah.
I think it looks like a small thing, but it's a big, big one.
So true.
I have only one more question. So people are asking you a lot of questions for sure, but what is one question that not many people are asking you and you would love to answer?
Wow. I think it's if we are we all going through shit in life, right? And I think it's very, very difficult to even share that with people. But if we have the courage, if we are bold enough and brave enough to really lean into that discomfort, the place where it's so dark and it's so scary to even see that. But when we look at it and start our journey from that space, the struggles that we have, the fears that we have, I believe that people will get the biggest breakthrough from there. Yeah, because in that darker space, that's where you see the light. And that was really one of my biggest learnings for the whole of my career and life as well. And I hope people will start leaning into that discomfort with, of course, self-compassion and mindfulness. Do it in a safe space so that you feel a lot more empowered to create that kind of breakthrough that is really meant for you.
Wow, what a way to close our conversation. And I think you are a live example of that you use your struggle as your strength, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing. I mean, you shared so much for our audience. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Rodrigo, for having me. I'm super honored to be here because I am a huge fan of something bigger. Really. I really, listen to your podcast, and I'm so inspired by the guests that you bring into the community as well, and being invited to be here, it's such a big honor and pleasure. Yeah, thank you so much for having me here.